We're going to cross a little bit later on to our reporter there. In fact, let's go to Njanji Chauke, who's there at the moment, just to catch up with him to find out what's happening. Njanji, thanks for joining us this evening. Tell us, what is the latest? We hear that another school was torched today.
Yes, Peter, the situation is very tense here in Vuwani. We visited one of the affected areas. As you know, that last night I spent the evening with one of the communities here who were protecting their school overnight until 5 o'clock this morning. But as we came back to the hotel to sleep, I received a phone call that yet another school had been torched. So we had to go to that area called Vuwani. And also trying to access that area was not very easy because trenches have been dug on the road. There are lots of barricades, there are big boulders, trees and stuff like that. So it's difficult to access some of these areas. So I like to believe that's why it's also difficult for the police to access the area.
So these barricades, are these being set up by the protesters to deliberately deter the police from trying to get into some of these areas?
Yeah, obviously that's the whole idea behind the barricade, so that they can be able to do whatever that they need to do away from the glare of the public and the security forces. They have to dig the trenches and all that. And it was quite saddening to arrive at that school and to hear some of the stories, the old ladies from that community trying to salvage the little that was left of that school. One of the ladies was telling me that when they woke up in the morning and realized that the office block was on fire, there was no water nearby to try and douse the flame. They, in fact, had to use feeding skim milk. In the storeroom, there was milk, so they had to use the milk to try and douse the flame. It's really a sad situation.
And all of this is happening in the middle of the night. So are there no witnesses? Does nobody know who these protesters are?
Peter, people are speaking in very hushed tones. People are afraid here. As you know, that issues of demarcation are very sensitive. Some observers are asking questions that the two communities have been living side by side for decades. Ever since the days of apartheid, these communities have been living side by side. But why all of a sudden that there is a flare-up of this violence between the animosity between the two communities? Some observers saying that, well, if this area falls under another municipality, there are people within the political circles that stand to lose economically and their political power. There's a lot of talk, but we understand that a high-powered government delegation will descend on Vuwani tomorrow to assess the situation, and they will chart a way forward.
Njanji, is it possible to ascertain if all the residents are on the same page in terms of this demarcation issue, or are there two sides to the story?
It is very difficult to give a conclusive answer on that one, because even to try and do a snap survey, people are afraid to speak to the media. When you take out your big camera, already people will start avoiding you, ignoring you, or just literally running away. Most of these shots were to try and use mobile journalism, use cell phones and iPads, because at least those devices are not that intimidating to members of the public. But people are really afraid. As you heard yesterday, the king saying that he's supportive of what the community needs. I think what is needed right now is the politicians to intervene, to try and speak to the two communities so that we don't have the tensions. And also, this is in the run-up to local government elections. Some people saying that after defeating apartheid, we can't afford to go back to a Bantustan mentality.
I would imagine with these barricaded roads and being in the rural areas, and a lot of these areas spread widely, the police must be struggling to maintain control in this area. Do you get a sense that they're a little overwhelmed with what's happening?
Exactly, Peter. The area is very vast. This morning when I ventured into the center of Vuwani, there was a lot of barbed wire. But if you trying to venture into the villages, it becomes a bit difficult. There are boulders on the roads, there are trees, there are trenches that have been dug. Even ourselves, we were threatened by one of the guys, asking us, what are we doing here? Do we speak a particular language? Why are we there? So we quickly had to get out. They even try and check if you can speak a particular language. A lot of foul language that has been used against certain people in political circles. So it's really tense. I think we're going to need our politicians to really take the lead on this one and try and diffuse the tensions before it blows out of control.
All right, Njanji, that's where we're going to leave it. Thank you very much indeed. That's our reporter, Njanji Chauke, who's reporting live from the troubled Vuwani area where, where we got reports that yet another school was torched in the early hours of this morning. We'll keep on top of that story for you.